about indoor air quality, it was really vitally important to me for a number of reasons that we assure good indoor air quality in the house. So the HRV was important for energy recovery, but also to assure that we got adequate fresh air. We have an extremely tight house here. We measured with a blower door test, and we have 0.44 air changes per hour. The typical well-built Energy Star house is 3 air changes per hour. We're a sixth of that. So we want to be sure that we're getting enough air changes into the house to meet minimum code. I also want it to be clean, so we specified the MERV 13 air filter because health issues, particularly for an aging population, get to be more and more important. Not only important for an aging population, but also for a young population. So school time, getting kids to school is important. But this was something that was important. In a LEED home, one of the things that we are very aware of is the toxins that are in building materials. And we specified building materials that had minimum toxicity levels. So 0 VOC paints, we don't have any carpet in the building, cabinets that have 0 VOCs in them. All of these were and doors with 0 VOCs. All of these were looked at with an eye towards minimizing any off-gassing. You still can't get away from it all. Furniture that we have, even though all of our furniture we've had for a long time, but cleaning chemicals, perfumes, there are all kinds of things that we introduce inadvertently into our living environments that we still want to be able to have fresh air for the health of the occupants.
So every house, especially now, when houses are built very tight, there's no air transfer. If you look at great-grandma's house that's now 110 years old, you could probably see light through the cracks on the foundation, and that allowed fresh outside air to come into the house. Now, with trying to get more energy efficient, houses are wrapped and very, very tight. So we need to bring in outside air into the house to make sure that we don't get sick house syndrome, and that can be caused from volatile organic compounds that are in the house. So paint on the wall, or even though we paint the wall and it dries, it's still outgassing volatile organic compounds. Carpet glues, and anything that you put in your house that's a manufactured product or chemical is going to continue to outgas. Depending on what product it is, it has half-lives, but it'll never stop. So it's very important to bring in fresh air in from outside so we don't get sick from all those volatile organic compounds that are in our houses. The other thing that we need to do in our houses is we have exhaust fans. We need to take air out as well, so to avoid moisture buildup. So a couple things you can think of that you need to exhaust is in your kitchen. You're going to have an exhaust hood. I would say maybe 50% of them vent outside. Some of them are just recirculating exhaust hoods that just recirculate, clean, go through filters above the stove and try to filter out the smells from the cooking and the grease that's coming off the stove, and then dump that air back in the house. The other place that we exhaust air out of houses is bathrooms. If you take a shower, it would build up a lot of moisture. We need to get that moisture out of the house because moisture, again, we talked about, it is bad for in houses. So this unit actually does both. It exhausts the air out of the bathrooms and it brings in fresh outside air. The way these are designed is that you size it for the house and it has to run a certain amount of time every day based on the size of the house to do that transfer of air. To get 1.5 to 2 air changes per hour is what we want to do. So we want to remove all the air out of the house and replace it with fresh air from outside air, as opposed to fresh air, to avoid those volatile organic compounds building up in the house. So there's a timer on it, but you don't know if you go into the bathroom and you take a shower, you don't know if it's running, if it's during that time cycle or not. So there's an override button in the bathroom that you can push to make sure it comes on, and that way you're exhausting that moisture-laden air out of the bathroom while you're taking a shower. The way that it works is it exchanges the air that it brings. So when it comes on, it's bringing fresh air or outside air from outside, and it's actually exhausting air from the inside to the outside. And that's all well and fine, and most standard houses that don't have this kind of system, when you exhaust the air, when you turn on your bath fan, you're just taking air out of your house and you're dumping it straight outside. All the heat that you spend a lot of money to put into the house is dumping outside. And then normally, in a standard house, there's a big hole in the wall that goes into the forced air system that brings the air back in to replace the air that you're dumping out. This one doesn't, it crosses the airstream, so as the air is exhausting out of the house, and the air is coming in the house, the air streams pass each other, and it gives up some of that energy, that heat energy, or cooling energy, depending on what mode you're in, into the air that's coming in. So instead of, an easy way to describe it is when it's really cold outside, the air coming in might be 32, 35, whatever the temperature is outside, your house is at 70 degrees. So instead of just dumping 70-degree air out of the house and bringing in 32-degree air, the air streams pass each other. They don't mix with each other, they just pass each other. So the way I like to think of it is, if you can buy boxes of straws, and if you get a big bundle of straws and another big bundle of straws and then put them together, weave them together like this, when air is going out this set of straws and coming in this set of straws, it gives up some of that temperature or some of that energy to the air coming in. So the air streams aren't mixing, but they're passing each other in a tight formation. So that doesn't mean that 32-degree air is going to warm up to 70, but it's going to warm up to something. So then we're taking some of the heat from the air going out, adding it to the heat, adding it to the air coming in, so we're not bringing in that cold air. So that's what the web of pipes is all about. There's 2 pipes that go outside, 2 pipes that go inside. There's also a filter on this system here that's filtering the air coming in. A MERV 13 filter is pretty highly efficient. The most highly efficient MERV filter you can get is a MERV 16, which is near HEPA quality. HEPA is high efficiency particulate arrestants, which will filter out all particles in the air, not 99.9% of the particles in the air that are 0.3 microns in size. 0.3 microns is pretty important because 80% of all particles in the air are exactly 0.3 microns in size. Our cilia in our nose and throat can't filter out particles below, I believe, 10 microns in size. So filtering air is pretty important. MERV 13 is going to filter out somewhere, and I'm just guessing here, probably about 80% of particles of that size, somewhere in there. Anything bigger than that, it's going to definitely catch. Anything smaller than that is going to go through it. So it's a pretty good filter. The problem with getting higher efficient filters, they're more restrictive to airflow. So we don't want to restrict the airflow so much that we can't deliver the amount of air that we need to into the house. So this filter is filtering the air coming in from outside so that we're not introducing those particles into the home. And the filter actually installs right here. There's a door that opens up and the filter slides in and out there. There's an airflow indicator on it that needs to point towards this unit when it's changed. As far as frequency, it really depends. I don't know. I would recommend checking it probably every 4 to 6 weeks, and then you would get to know how often it needs to be changed, because it really depends on what's floating around outside and what it draws through it. Normally what I like to do to see how dirty or clean it is, this one's a brand new filter and I don't know if it translates well to the camera, but if I hold it up to the light, you can kind of see through it and it's somewhat opaque. When they get dirty, the particles actually embed into the fiber of the filter, and it gets more and more difficult to see light through the filter. And that's kind of a good way to tell whether it needs to be changed or not.
Things may look a little bit different from what you see a little bit earlier. One of the things that we found during testing was that the airflows that we were getting from the ERV weren't up to the minimum standards. And so we discovered, if you saw the ductwork from the earlier video, we had a lot of flex tubing. There's a lot of resistance in the flex tubing, and so we changed it out to the hard pipe that you see in the background, and that made a difference of about 30% in terms of the volume, and now we meet the requirements that for the standard. So that standard 62.2 of ASHRAE standard 62.2 for ventilation effectiveness. So we were pleased with the results, and it's made quite a difference in terms of the air quality. It's quite noticeable.